color. They were like a black. And
Mm.
anyway, so I'm guessing by your conversations here talking about cabinets that have you, is it better to just buy new cabinets or refinish? Or you're probably going to tell me it depends. But I guess if the cabinets are certain, if they're beat up or if they're old, then obviously replace them. But if they're kind of
Yeah.
right there on the cusp, it's probably better just to bite the
Well,
bullet and buy the new cabinets, is what I'm guessing.
it depends. It kind of depends what you're working with, right? If you're working with like original hardwood, solid wood, or or joined wood like oak cabinets, like yeah, I mean, you can paint those. You can replace the hinges with slow close. I mean, that's not a bad option. If you're dealing with old Formica, particle board, cruddy cabinets to begin with, yeah, replace them, right? And that's in my case. Like I was dealing with a total gut. So to me, it was no
Oh,
choice.
okay, yeah.
And then on the other building, it was like, yeah, there were cabinets there, but they were pretty cruddy. And I was really going to maximize rent, so I figured, let's say 1,000 to finish, 2,500, 3,000 to buy new. I was like, yeah, I'll just go new. So I don't
Okay.
know
Yeah.
if anybody else has any thoughts.
Yeah, I always, for my customers, I always go through the motions, and a lot of the older stuff is really well built.
Great.
Just
Yeah.
the doors and the drawer fronts are out of date, so you can order new. Like we'll usually do shaker style doors now, um, and you can still add, like Chris said, the soft close doors and drawers.
Yeah.
And you can probably get away with painting the interiors and and then I mean, basically the kitchen looks fine. Most of the time it's like those old tracks and rails wear out and
Yeah.
drawers are
Yeah.
falling out and things like that.
Yeah, they had I don't know how they did this, but it was a 1970s home, 76, and the cabinets were still I think the boxes of the original, but they had the slow
Yeah.
close drawers, but they didn't have any kind of slow close doors. And so,
Mm,
and that the contractor told me, and two of them actually, that I couldn't get the hinges. Those hinges must have been like the original hinges or something. So we
mm.
ended up resurfacing everything, sanding and painting, and then painting again. But then we put the magnets on the doors, so it turned out okay. And then we put our own pulls,
Yeah.
steel, stainless steel pulls, stainless steel appliances, and we did a white, what do you call it, quartz top on it. So it turned out okay.
Yeah.
But I just think for the amount of hassle and the savings, it might not have been the best move.
Yeah.
I was just curious, I guess it
But
depends.
yeah, I mean, a lot of it has just my view. A lot of it has to do with like if you put it in the macro perspective, like on the project where I did mats, like I didn't have the time to invest and to recover anything or whatever. So, but
Right.
like I got another project now where like, I expected, let's just say that the budget I had for this project um got consumed by cost overruns on the other projects. So suddenly like, yeah, I can picture myself like taking a weekend, like painting my own cabinets, the old cabinets and refinishing them. So, yeah, you have to put it in perspective. But I will say like the the cost delta between the IKEA cabinets or the Home Depot cabinets and like what Matt sells is pretty nominal. It just if you can afford the time, it's totally worth doing it. And they're actually the cabinets Matt sells are from a company called Fabuwood. You can go online, you can find their catalog. You can there are dealers in just about every major city in the country that sell them. Matt basically just bought a distributor for them. So like, if Matt's the only challenge I have with Matt is like when he gets really busy, like, like it took a couple of weeks to kind of get, time to kind of, get the order and stuff like that. But so you can always go around and order from a local distributor. So you have a lot of flexibility. You have spare parts. You have touch-up paint. It's a standard color. It's one of their most popular lines, most popular colors. So like I like that because I'm trying to adopt the strategy that like, well, at least when I have money, I'm trying to adopt the strategy. Like when I refinish it, I want to refinish it so that it's good for next 10 to 15 years, right? I don't have to touch it, right? The problem is that works great until you run out of money, and then you're like, oh, okay, so now I've got to kind of shoestring a little bit, and maybe I'll have to touch that up in 3, 5, 7 years. But so a lot of it is subjective to kind of your financial situation and your timeline. Like if you're going to flip it in 3 to 5 years, and I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe you shoestring it. So, a lot of those things are factors to consider.
Yeah, this was a really odd situation because I was under the gun, not by money and not holding costs. It was by I'm doing rent by room, and so pad
Oh,
split.
wow. Cool.
Yeah, so we've got 3 properties now, and this one was under construction while we were setting up another one. So we were doing it 2 at once within a 2 week period. So it was absolutely insane. But just my wife and I and my son, he was putting together beds. He's 9, by the way. But we put the whole family to work. But it was the timeline because Pad Split is who I'm using as a property manager for the first year. They had changed their pricing model, and so I had to have everything done and
Mm.
online before May 1st. We actually didn't make
Oh,
it. We
yeah.
we got to May 3rd, but I had did a solid for the EA or the executive accountant for him. He needed to meet his numbers 2023, so we put my property online before it was actually ready. So he did me the favor the other way around, where he technically put it online, but then gave me a few days to actually get it live. So that way they changed their pricing
Nice.
model, so I had to get it in under the wire, and that's why I wanted it. So now I'm locked in for a lease on those 3 property or that property. So yeah, it
Cool.
was crazy. So thanks. I'll look into this. I wrote that down to Fabu Wood. Thank you.
Yeah, February. They're in Jersey. They deliver. I mean, it's top notch. I mean, like I'm a supply chain guy, right? It's like the packaging that they send that stuff in is like some of the best like cargo packaging, like heavy duty, like grade 4. It's like awesome, right? And they're nice. It's a nice product.
Cool.
Yeah, you were talking lead times earlier. Right now, there's a brand called American Woodmark, and when we get the Home Depot cabinets, we upgrade to all plywood construction and
Yeah.
all that fancy stuff. So right now it's about 4 weeks. So that's pretty good timing. For a while there, it was,
Yeah.
6 to 8 weeks, but it's
Oh,
been,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's been good for a long
And,
time now.
and the only thing I'd say, Frank, is the issue I had with lead time wasn't the Fabbywood lead time. It was the Matt Light lead time, right? Because Matt was just so slammed at the time. I think he's back. I think now that he's retired, he's kind of retired. He's got more cycles,
Oh, there you go.
but yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He was getting audited too, so I mean,
Yeah, I mean, the guy gets all the credit in the world. Like, I get it, I totally get it. But like, I ended up, I got my core cabinets through him, and then we altered the kitchen design. Like as we started to install it, we're like, we got room for an island. Let's do this. So he was so slammed. Like I just did the rest of the cabinets for the islands through a local distributor, and I paid more, but it still works great. So, and frankly, I think compared to like the cost benefit compared to like IKEA or a big box store, I would definitely do that option, first, right? That would be my first choice. Like Matt first, local distributor second, IKEA third, and then probably, a local, big box store or a local, cabinet store would be last. But don't tell anybody I said, Matt, that I would do IKEA at all because he gives me so much crap on that. So only when I'm in a hurry, only when I need like tomorrow, right? So
Yeah. So since you're talking about your stuff right now, where are you investing and how many units do you
yep.
have right now?
Yep. So we've like my dad was not a slumlord, that's probably be too provocative, but he has a couple boarding houses in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, which is a city outside of Philly. Lansdale is the only suburb of Philly that has its own FBI office because of the drug issues. So that gives you a little bit of an indication. I'll call it a hardy class B minus area. Getting better, but so I over COVID we would always buy a house, fix it up, live in it for a couple of years, and then we'd move to the next one and we'd rent it out. So we always had houses. We were doing fix ups, we were renting one at a time, but like they were pigs, right? They were alligators, to use Zuber's term. Like I made great money on appreciation when I sold it, but cash flow wise, they were awful, right? I was putting in a couple $100 a month. So I kind of got religion over COVID. I got involved in another real estate group that was really good, and then I stumbled into Zuber and Matt. I have right now 30 units, 2 of which are commercial because 2 of the properties are mixed use. So I went from 1 unit to 30 between early 2021 and now. I agree with Matt. I'm cautious about the remote investor option. It can be done. The original group, which I have a ton of respect for, they're all remote investors. They're all like, NDs and nurses, but it just didn't work for me. So I only invested within an hour of our house. I drove the triangle from Maryland, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania. It was really hard to find a market that wasn't like flat or degrading. So I settled it on Lehigh Valley, which I'm not in, the Philly suburbs, which I wanted, but only recently to become more affordable. And I stumbled on Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So if you Google Lancaster, you'll see that they've been in the U.S. News and World Report top 5 places to retire for like 5 of the last 9 years, which I find pretty remarkable. But it's actually a really nice area. So we started in Lancaster. We've got about 20 units there. We've got about 10 units out in the Philly suburbs, Collegeville Trap area. They're all what I'll call like nice rural suburbs, but have nice little city areas, walkable. And I started buying essentially turnkey, and then it was like minor modifications, and then the last 2 properties I bought are total gut rehabs. I bought one from somebody who bought one. They were going to turn it in. They were going to do a 4-plex in Lancaster and turn it into a Airbnb. And Lancaster passed a law, kind of like Dallas. It said, yeah, no Airbnbs unless you're in like these very narrow spots. And so I bought it from her mid flip. It was gutted. We just finished it, just put it in the market. I can post the links if you guys want to take a look at the pictures. And Matt's cabinets are in 3 out of the 4 of those. And then in the other suburb, we've got about 10 units there, and we've got one that we just bought that we're going to have to basically gut and redo. And that's the one that I'm, because of the cost overruns and the other stuff, like I'm actually kind of, my piggy bank is a little bare right now. So, this one may be a little bit more of me on the weekends doing stuff, but we'll see how it plays out. So,
Awesome.
hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. How about you, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. My family has I think 11, 12 units. I manage them for them. And then my wife and I last 3 years we acquired a 4-plex and a triplex. I gotta buy my mother out of the triplex, but when we do, we'll have 7 units ourselves. So I think total, I don't know, it's like 16, 17 units, something like that under management right now that I'm kind of running with an assistant. And the portfolio consists of 3 multifamily, a townhouse, 3 single family homes. I think that's it. Yeah, something like that. So we're kind of half and half multifamily and single family homes at this point. But my family has owned the single family homes for like 15, 20 years. So at this point, with the rent increases in those areas, everything is cash flowing. So yeah. So it's
What do you like better from a management perspective, single family or multifamily?
So multifamily is simply more work, because people just don't stay as long in these multifamily dwellings. So single family takes a little longer to rent. But other than that, our single family places, like our tenants in our 3 single families, I think the shortest one has been there this is their 2nd year, and the others have been there for like 3 to 5 years, and they have no sign of leaving. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah, it's like, and they're all at market rents at this point too. So it's not like we're shanked in that respect. So my sense of it in the limited experience I've had managing over the last 3 years it has been that like there is a continuum, between active and passive management, and single families are like the ultimate passive management, like because these people just I mean, yes, every once in a while somebody will leave and buy a house, right? But other than that, the single family renter, they grow roots and like that's their house as far as they're concerned. They just happen to pay rent as opposed to own. And then in the middle, you've got multifamily people who are they're transient. They're like, I'm on my way somewhere. You know, I'm a student, I'll be here for 2 years or 1 year. You know, I'm getting back on my feet. We don't really want to be here. Eventually we'll rent a single family home somewhere, you know. And so there's a little bit of that I don't want to be here kind of thing for those for some of the multifamily tenants. And then on the far end of the active management, you know, Airbnbs and hotels and
Rent by rooms.
yeah, single room, right? Because now you're hospitality, right? So it's just a question, you know, like, yes, you might make more on that end of the spectrum, but now it's a job. It's like I can go work my job then and just make money for working. So it's like, yeah, it's like it just gets more and more passive as you go down that continuum. But what I love about multifamily is that, you know, we can get cash flow right up front. And if people are staying there a year or 2 or 3, it's like that's pretty freaking passive compared to anything else. Like, I mean, it's almost like all the other hospitality stuff and jobs and stuff like that is so far on the end of working for the money that then you've got multifamily and single family a lot closer together, way down closer to like retirement style income, especially if you have reasonable systems like Matt has. And I've ever since I started doing this, the management side of it 3 years ago, you know, I just started building systems from the get because as an online business owner, it's like I've been doing that for 10, 15 years now. It's like everything is a Google sheet and an SOP and a screen capture video tutorial for my team. And it's like, so even with multifamily, for me, it's still pretty passive. It's just not passive for my assistant. Like they're doing the work and I just lord over them. But I really think that the long-term the long-term Shangri-La is, you know, a large portfolio of cash flowing single family homes that have that kind of really long turnover. Like I think you could just go to sleep on a portfolio like that. And multifamily, it's just like, you know, without that team and a system, which I have, but I think even with that, there's a little bit of extra management of your team because they're not the owners as well. So that's just not quite as
Are all your properties in Florida?
yeah, everything's in
Okay.
Jacksonville, Florida. We have them all over the city. I mean, it's 1 million people live in Jacksonville. There's like 3 counties, and so we own real estate in all 3 counties. We have downtown Jacksonville properties. We have the west side of the city. We've got some single families over there, and then we also have in the St. Johns County, which is the second fastest growing county in Florida, which is insane. It's near St. Augustine. We've got a property down there. So we're kind of diversified when it comes to locations and asset type at this point as well.
Yeah,
Hey, if
the
you'd be
reason I'm asking.
willing,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say at some point, if you'd be willing, Jeffrey, to, not tonight, to share an example of one of your SOPs, like I think I would love to see that
Sure.
because like I've built good systems and other things, but I think they're my systems. Like if I got hit by the beer truck tomorrow, like my family would be in limbo. In fact, I one of the biggest takeaways I took away from the Zuber event in Vegas was build a succession plan. Like, hey, like a plan for my wife. If something happens to me, here's what you do:
Yeah.
you sell these properties, you transition these to this PM because we're self-managing almost everything, right? And I'm just working through that now, but I'd love to see if you would be at some point willing to share that. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
Chris?
if you just chat me your email, I'll email you I have a basically like a little mini training for my students and clients that takes them through what my SOPs typically look like. They're not specific to real estate per se, but I basically
That's
do
fine.
the same thing for the
Yeah.
real estate stuff, and I'm always
Yeah.
happy to show and tell in the future
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, I just put my email in the chat. That would be great.
Chris, I
Cool.
do I use Loom videos, and
Yeah.
Frank Frank and I have a book. I use Google Chrome, and unlike you, I use all the Chrome, the Excel sheets and all that, or the whatever Chrome calls it.
Yep.
I use Excel, but I put it up there so my wife can do it. But I have everything laid out. I was going to say, Frank, this might be a good topic for a future Wednesday night, because a lot of us are doing this on the back end. And, even though I'm doing rent by room, the general process of it, and like you, Jeffrey, you're doing a different style. And by the way, I agree with you. I'm doing rent by room to earn that cash flow to get to a point where I can buy
Yeah.
those single families. Although I will say one thing, I agree with you in your assessment as far as the multifamily and single family, but I also would say it depends on your market. Like, I would venture to say that the property purchase, the cost down there, I don't know what it is, but like, for example, like Dion is in Washington State. And so the houses are a lot more expensive there. So people will stay a little bit longer in the multifamily. So I think it depends on the area. But Frank, I think that would be a good one to have, because I've put out a couple YouTube videos and I've had a lot of people respond and say, hey, so it might be a good topic for people to come in and share their systems. Give everybody like a 10-minute or 15-minute timeline, because I know we can go down that rabbit hole for hours. At least I can.
Yeah, no, it sounds excellent. We're trying to work up some kind of system like that for ourselves as well. So that'd be really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and it's
really-
great to be able to copy each other's SOPs at times. Like if there's something for a specific use case that somebody already has a pretty well built angle on it, it's like, most of the stuff is pretty copy and paste nowadays, which is really, really efficient. But I mean, I have a $15 an hour admin. She's my property manager. She's not licensed or any of that kind of stuff. She's just my assistant, and my job is just to geek out on every little thing, because she's not like a genius, right? But if I McDonaldize every single thing, and I do it once or twice and then turn that into something that she can follow paint by numbers, I basically never have to do it again. And then I have oversight, and that pacifies things. Even with, like, we run an Airbnb. The townhouse that is under my management is an Airbnb. I mean, that's week, day-to-day, week-to-week work, but I mean, it doesn't take a lot of my time, because as soon as we started doing it, it's like, okay, build the Google sheet and the checklist and all the little copy and paste SOPs and all that kind of stuff, and it ends up being, with a cheap admin, fairly automated. And it's great for the admin because they have an income from that. They've got stability. And it's great for me because I can be lazier, like way lazier than Dion, which I definitely am. So yeah, I love it.
Oh, wow. You're calling out Dion on being lazier than his lazy investing. That's pretty good.
He's not. I don't buy that. I don't buy that lazy thing. I mean, like, getting to become the executive that he became and all that. I mean, like, he freaking worked his ass off for that decade. Like, you can't fool me. Sorry.
Hi, Jeffrey. Short question about the properties that you owned for 15, 20 years, or your family owned.
Yeah.
How can you tell us about how did these properties appreciate over this time?
Sure. Let me think. The single families have appreciated a good bit. But here's what's crazy about, I mean, my mindset has always been, well, single families appreciate more than multifamilies do, but multifamilies give more, more upfront in the form of cash flow, right? Generically. But I talked to my mom about this the other night, because I said, oh, these single families are so amazing. I mean, you've got more appreciation and you got cash flow now. You got the best of both worlds. And she told me, nope, our multifamilies have appreciated the same amount as the single families have. So she bought a 6-unit. It was really a brick quad, and then like 2 garage apartments. But it basically was sold as a package because it was on the same property. It was a 6-unit apartment, little mini apartment complex. She bought it for like $300,000 in a reasonably good part of town. It's now worth at least 6, probably 7 or 8. So it's about double-ish. And if you look at the single families that she bought more than 10 years ago, I believe she probably bought them in the just under 200, and now they're going for the low threes, maybe the mid threes. So they haven't, I don't know that they've quite doubled quite yet. So, I mean, I think each of them are location specific, to be fair, but they've all had good appreciation because I mean, she was in real estate all her life. She ran a big real estate sales organization down here. And so she understood location really well. She had her finger on the pulse. And so, yeah, I think everything from the last 10 years, probably anywhere between 60 to 100% appreciation on all of them.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank
Jeffrey,
you.
I
That's
got
what I'm hearing, you know, doubling or tripling sometimes in different markets. So I appreciate that.
Yep, down here,
Jeffrey,
especially recent, like last 5 years, we've had such insane immigration rates that you know, that has impacted appreciation tremendously down here.
Jeffrey, I got a question about your management. So you're managing your family's investments and stuff like that. You don't have to answer this if you want to. Are you actually charging the family like a management fee and all that stuff?
Yeah, but it's, I mean, most of that's going to my admin.
Mhm.
So and we're way under like the 6 to 10% minimum that like we're not licensed property managers in any way, shape, or form. So I really did it at first 3 years ago when we started doing it. I paid all that money to my admin. She got 100%. I got Zippo. Right. In fact, I actually spent money to pay her more for additional hours as I built the system. So I was actually negative at that point. And then the second year, I was charging like $400 a month, just kind of a nominal amount, and that covered my admin's hours at $15 an hour. And then the next year we raised it to 500. So I increased the cap that I had placed for my admin by $50, and I took $50 basically. And we're also paying my admin separately for managing our quad at this point. So I'm also slowly lowering her pay on that side as well. So I lowered her $50 on that side, gave her a $50 raise on the family's management side. And now I'm actually making $50 a month doing it. I'm going to raise her another $100 to 600 this year as well. So I kind of treat it like I'm treating it with a tremendous amount of kid gloves for 2 reasons. Number one is, and I'm not being aggressive about it for 2 reasons as well. One is I'm not licensed, so I don't claim to compete with other property managers from that perspective. I'm basically there. I assist the family in self-management. That's all I can say, right? And then the second one is I've been learning as I've gone as well. So I'm adding more and more value as I learn more and as I get better and as I build these systems and make investments. And so slowly, as I add more value, I'll take a little bit more of that gravy, basically. You know, so I'm not at all aggressive about it for those reasons. Plus, my family tends to be pretty cheap as well. So, so I know I can't ask for a ton in that period of time. But you know, my mother is the primary owner, and as she ages, I'll be inheriting more and more of the work involved, me and my admin. And then eventually we inherit the portfolio altogether. So it's kind of like just a slow frog in boiling water type of thing that I'm managing the emotional and the logistical side of it simultaneously. And really the biggest upside that she's gotten from me, I would say, other than just taking a lot of the work off her hands, has been you know, she's kind of like an old school style landlord that did not have, after a certain period of time, she had really no clue about the tools, rent boxes, rentometer, etc., where she could discover like this is really what the market pays. And she was drastically undercharging on her rents for that reason. And also just she was kind of an emotional investor as well. So it was kind of lucky for her and for me to take it over, because I immediately started getting educated from, you know, from our crew and learning that, oh my gosh, she's undercharging rent by $500 a month here, $800 a month here, etc. So it saved it saved her from probably losing a lot of those assets at some point, because she's got roofs coming due that she's got to pay for. And so I just, over the last 3 years, I've been ramping up rents over and over and over again, and she's probably taken in another 20 to 35,000 a year plus just from the rent raises that we've systematically done each year now over the last 3 years.
There's also a cost saving. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just wondering, that assistant is, I sounds like that's not a VA. That's somebody like locally, you know, or how did you find them or locate them?
Yeah. So I have my own business I've had for almost 20 years now, or actually more than 20 years now. And so I always have an assistant that works for me within my own business.
Okay.
So when I came to Jacksonville 13 years ago, I hired this person. And so when I started doing the running the management for my family, I just went to that same person and said, "Hey, do you want some more hours? Would you like to do this with us as well?" And
that's cool.
she was a yes to that. So that was kind of an easy one. But
That's really
you know,
cool.
basically, I have a system for recruiting as well. I have an SOP on recruiting. So anytime we need somebody like at a reasonable, like she's $15 an hour here, which is pretty reasonable for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I just could start at the top of that SOP and go down. We put a Craigslist ad and a Facebook ad and whatnot, and just you know, funnel people through till we boil it down to somebody that does good work. And we've worked with this one assistant for almost 13 years now. And she's trustworthy. She's not a genius, but that's what you get for 15 bucks an hour. And as long as my job is to make a McDonald's for her, right? Where she could just push the pretty pictures and make all the things happen. And it works great.
Nice. You're also saving money on you know, markup from other management companies and stuff like that, because they're gonna hire it out and then they're gonna mark it up when it comes to them and stuff like that. So there's other savings there too that you're helping save the family too. So nice work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a win for everybody. And yeah, it's a great game to be in, to utilize what I had done all this stuff in this other business, and so it's like, well, it applies here too.
Very cool.
Awesome. I was going to check in with Robert. Robert, I think I saw you on Dion's live yesterday. You were talking about your, I think it was your 10-year plan.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit familiar with you through Matt's course, but where are you and what kind of investing are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm in New Hampshire, not in the same markets Matt is in. I'm kind of a little all over the place. The free markets I invest in right now are Nashua, Manchester, and Keene. Manchester and Nashua are pretty close cities, about like 20 minutes apart from each other. Keene's kind of like an hour out from both. I put in a property there just to get a college rental for the most part. So yeah, I'm on free duplexes. I'm just house hacking my way to I don't know, 20 to 30. I don't have a good number of when to stop right now, because that really depends on what 50 acres of land and building a house is going to cost 10 years from now, which is what I want to stop. You know, that depends on the price of land. That depends on interest rates too, if interest rates are high or low during that time. So yeah, I have a stop goal. It's just that it's hard pinning down the exact number right now. And yeah,
Yeah, and I don't remember seeing in the chat, do you have a spot where you want your land and your home to be built, or is that
somewhere in rural New Hampshire, there's plenty of 50-acre lots are not too 50-acre plus lots are not too challenging to come by in New Hampshire. No, I'm going to I guess I'm going to kind of like retire like Dion, like how he's retired, but he's still like what? Let's just call it an hour away from each property. That's probably what I'm looking for too. Just being an area that's I don't like not super close like Matt, who's like 15 minutes away from each property, but at least, I could check up on each of my properties once in a while.
great? Who else joined us? Travis, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right.
Good to see you again.
Good. Yeah. Actually, got some good news this week. I got a duplex under contract, so pretty excited about that.
Nice. Where's that at?
Nice.
It's a suburb of St. Louis. It's on the Missouri side. It's about probably 45 minutes from downtown. So
Oh, okay.
it's in a little town called Moscow Mills, which is it's kind of in the path of progress. It's like Wentzville is a huge area, lot of growth, and this is just about 10 minutes out from Wentzville. So
Do you have other properties in that area? In the St. Louis area?
yeah, I have two single family homes,
Okay.
and rent both of those out. And then, well, we have our primary home, but yeah, I have two other rentals that we use as long-term rentals.
How long have
I
you
think
been at it?
I think the interest rate is going to be pretty attractive. I mean, compared to where they've been, I guess maybe this last year.
Mhm.
I think I'm going to be able to lock in for 7% or maybe just under.
Oh, cool. What price point is that duplex at?
I was listed for 270,000. So I think each side, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on each side. I'm pretty sure it's going to rent for 1,600 a side.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the numbers made pretty good sense. So,
Yeah, because what I saw last on the HUD FMR 3.1s right now are around 1565. If that makes any sense.
for what area?
For St. Louis County.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I would think that's about right.
yeah, that's awesome if you can get it that high. We have
Yeah.
we have a small it's was built as a 2.1, but they did an addition some years ago. And there's a Section 8 tenant in there now. If she leaves, we would turn it into a 3.1. Right now, we bought it as a 2.1. She's been there a couple years and she's paying $11.50. The FMR for this year was $12.09 for a 2.1. And then, like I said, for the 3.1s, it jumped up to 1565. But I think even if she left, I don't think we could get that much for it. I'm thinking maybe 1,300 in that area, because we're in I don't know if you're familiar with the zip codes, but 63136. It's over by Jennings and that area.
Yeah, I know where you're talking about. What did you say about 1,300?
That's when I spoke with the property manager, because I always bring up the FMR to them and get their take on it. But yeah, our agent there sees quite a few of them going to the $1,300 level, 3.1s anyway.
Yeah, I would think that's pretty safe bet on that.
Mhm.
St. Louis is kind of I don't know, this may be the case in a lot of other places, but you've got your areas where maybe the rent isn't quite as high, and then you've got other areas where it jumps up significantly. So, and not too far away from there, so, but I would say, yeah, 1,300 is probably definitely doable in that area.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It's good to know you're in that market. We're kind of scattered all over. I don't know if you guys have heard our story, but in the beginning we were following, we were started with turnkeys. And so we were following turnkey deals, and we ended up in like 4 different states. And we only have 5 properties to date, but the Little St. Louis one is the best one we've had so far. And I was telling the guys earlier that, or everybody earlier, sorry, ladies, that I got a loan cost estimate from our lender, and I was hoping I could share that with you guys and just get some feedback. I know the price points on this one was like a $75,000 property that I was looking at. Is it okay with y'all if I try to do that now?
Yeah.
Let me see here. Okay. So this one is the purchase price on this was 75,000. We were looking at putting 30% down. The interest rate we were going to be able to get, we'll buy it down by 2 points to get it down to 7. But one of the things that I find interesting when Dion talks about closing costs being 2 to 3%, I was wondering what they calculate to that 3% on, because on this section where it's the estimated loan costs, that's everything that the lender.
I think it's just a rule of thumb. It's kind of a guesstimate. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I don't think it's based on, hey, this is what's going to cost. I mean, it depends on your lender and all that. I think it's just kind of a rough, hey, you can kind of figure this. I mean, that's
Okay.
my guess anyway. I'm relatively new too, as of a year. So hell, I don't know, but that's my guess.
Well, that's what they say, right, Jared? So 3% of what? What number?
I think
Of the
it's a
purchase
3%
price.
Purchase price. Yeah.
Yeah, your
I've
purchase
been
price.
I've been told that too.
Or loan amount or purchase price? I thought it was loan amount.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. Loan amount. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
But even that's can be off, because I bought 2 houses from 2 different lenders. I think one was around $8,000, and then the other one was $6,000, and they were about the same price, even the same, within a quarter mile of each other. So, shop around.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so if it's the loan amount, so you would take, in this case, the loan amount's going to be 52,000. 3% would be 1,500, right?
Seems logical.
But down here, where under the estimated loan cost is 3,700. So that's
Is that
one
total of everything? I mean, is one a subtotal versus a total?
That's so what the other thing I was going to get to was, so that's one portion, the estimated loan costs, but then over here, estimated prepaids. So they have a year of insurance in here. They have taxes, and so that's another thing that's getting added to the, I guess, your all-in cost, right? So it's going to be 3,700 plus 2,600. That's 6,300 added to your down payment. The down payment on this property was 22,500. So the 22,500 is here. The loan estimate is there at 3,700. This estimated prepaids and escrow is here at 2,600, and then the 900 is the rate buy down. So, you know, that's like $6,000.
So that's at a 7.7, is that correct? Or a 7% interest rate?
Yeah, 7. It should be 7.
Looks like 7. The APR I think is 7.7, which doesn't really matter. The interest rate looks like it's 7.
Yeah, interest rate is 7 here. So I was just wondering, you know, so originally, or when we really first started out, I would have said, okay, the down payment's going to be 22.5, and then 3%. Even if you go with the purchase price, that's only 2,100. That would have been under $25,000 all in. So some of the things that I was leaving out was the year of insurance and the whatever taxes were owed for the next period. So even when I was guesstimating this, I figured I would be all in at 25,000. And then when he gave me this and the extra $3,000 is the prepaids and the buy down money.
So to me, this actually, so going through each of them, so the estimated prepaids and escrow, that does vary by bank. Basically some banks don't want you to like not have enough money in escrow, and by the time a property tax payment comes, like, oops, you don't have enough money. So prepaid interest, that's going to definitely change. That all depends on when you close your loan. That's so so basically, yeah, $10, that's not like, that's just what it is. $10.21 per day until the day of your first load payment. So so they're estimating 6 days, but if that turns out to be 45 days from the time you close to your next loan payment, that's going to be what, $450. But at the same time, like going with this estimate, your first loan payment would be in what, 6 days versus 45 days. So that's, you know, that's fair. That's just how things is. Hazard insurance, that's also fair. I mean, you have to pay for a full year up front. So that's just what it is. The next thing I'm seeing is the homeowner's insurance for 3 months and property taxes for 7 months. Well, I'll put it this way. I've had Rocket Mortgage demand 12 months for each before, and my most recent thing with a local bank, they've only wanted 3 months for each. So this kind of lands into the middle, I see. I don't know if you'd really count this as a closing cost. This is just like money to escrow for like future, to pay for future property taxes and insurance payments. Like in theory, like once you close out your mortgage, they no longer make property taxes and escrow payments, so that all that money's refunded back. But so yeah, like at the same time, if you start off with a higher escrow balance, they might not like raise your escrow payments throughout time as much as they go up. Like, let's say for weird argument's sake, like your initial escrow payment was $10,000. Next year, property taxes and insurance go up. Well, if you still have like a huge amount of money in escrow, they're not going to raise your payment at all. Versus like if you put in the bare minimum, they're going to say escrow shortage, your monthly payments going up. So
Okay.
I don't know what to say about that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen worse. Let's put it this way. I've seen both better and worse. than that. And then going on to the estimated loan costs, that administrative fee is quite high. I'm not, especially for that type of loan. I've seen different banks do it different ways, but I mean, it's the bank's fee. They have different names for it. I've seen it under application fee. Rocket Mortgage, instead of charging you fees, just charges you a bunch of points and gives you crappy rates instead of charging you fees. Yeah, it's their way of making money, and for this small a loan, that's really high. Like, I took out on my recent duplex a $286,000 loan, and I was only charged a fee of like somewhere in around $1,000. So that seems high to me. The appraisal fee, that sounds about right. Is this a single family or a duplex?
Yeah, it's just a single family.
So that seems slightly high then, because that seems to me what I paid for my appraisal in for my duplex. It was about like $500 or so. Credit report fee, that's actually not as bad as I've seen it. I've seen more than $60. Verification bundle, I have no freaking clue what that is. Couldn't say. Also of note, like, I see less things on here than I've usually seen in my closing docs, but that might just be the difference between Illinois and New Hampshire. Like,
But it does
like
seem Richard, or it does seem Robert, like it's missing a page, right? Like to you, like I'm
yeah,
used to like 2 pages of fees, right?
yeah. Well, yeah, like, well, yeah, it's like
And
title
this is
chart.
laid out really nice too. Like
Yeah,
it's not buried in all the shit.
yeah. Yeah, title charges, I mean, that seems ever so slightly high, but not like, it's only like $200 high from what I've seen it. Recording fees, stamp taxes, no comment on that, because in New Hampshire they're like a lot higher than this. So, yeah, I'm paying more like $2,000 in transfer and stamp taxes. But yeah, overall, I wouldn't. There seems to be a couple of things that are a little high, but I don't think this is like outrageous. And it might also just be Illinois versus New Hampshire discrepancies. But but to be fair, if this is really it, I'm surprised at how little fees you're getting charged. Like,
Yeah.
there seems, I would normally see a lot more loan costs than that.
Yeah, one of the things that for the administrative fee, I was thinking that since the loan amount is so small, right, they're not making that much money on the loan itself, that it was, from what I've heard in the past, that they may have a fee like that to compensate for the small loans. We got qualified with this guy because again, for the purchase price here of 75,000, we needed somebody that went down to 50,000 loan amounts. And this was one of the companies that we found out. That the person I'm dealing with has been excellent in explaining everything, that that all these charges and everything. So that's helpful, and I'm starting to understand better about the prepaids and all that. My next question would be, so the total down there being 28,000, whatever it is, that when we're looking at deals and analyzing deals, would be an all-in cost that we would then calculate our cash on cash return with. But since they added in those prepaids, does that make a difference the second year? I mean, would you drop those off and recalculate your cash on cash return?
I wouldn't, because the prepaids aren't gonna, the prepaids are the prepaids. You have to pay like homeowners insurance up front, and then so basically you're paying your first year of homeowners insurance up front, and then through your next mortgage payments that you're paying, you're building up your escrow to pay a full year of rent, your homeowners insurance for the next year. So
I got you. So
it really doesn't.
yeah. So if it makes sense at these numbers, then it's fine. Like, you know, if we're shooting for a certain amount of positive cash flow after all expenses and say a 10% cash on cash return, if we get that with these metrics, then we should be fine. No alligators, right?
Yeah.
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 The only thing you could make an argument for that might not be as part of the all-in closing, I usually don't, is the initial escrow payment in closing. And here's why, because so let's say this month, don't do this, I'm just making an extreme example here just to prove a point. Like this month, like you close on the loan, and then 1 month later you refinance it. That and let's say you had no expenses that came out of escrow, you'd be returned that the $1,200 you put into escrow would be returned to you.
Okay.
So I would just, I would just include that in the all-in just to pad the numbers and to make it look like a slightly worse deal than it is. So then when it performs better, you can be happy, but
being a bit more conservative in a way.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. And also, I guess there's a little bit of a return there somehow because your first mortgage payment won't be due until the second month. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it also helps, they have to pay you interest on the escrow too, and for I have one through JP. I do have one of my mortgages through JP Morgan Chase, and they actually do pay they are paying right now like 3% on my escrow deposits. So not something you should really consider, but a nice little bonus.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That was super helpful. It's just been something I've been struggling with for a while. After Matt pushing us to stabilize and everything like that, I've been trying to dig into all these things like insurance and understanding these better, just things that I hadn't really looked into before. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna one other point. I think and look, Frank, you're already like way more disciplined on this than I am, but I have a less disciplined approach in terms of I look at it, I like compare it against the last couple deals, see if anything looked way out of whack. But I kind of say to myself, like, look, is $1,000 or $2,000 gonna make me feel better or worse about this property in 12 or 18 months? And if the answer is no, then I got really wrapped around the axle on like these lenders disclosures and the cost elements the first deal or two, and then I just realized that it was unless you have a lot of lender options ahead of you, there's really not a ton you can do about it. You can challenge it, you can make sure it's legitimate and quickly benchmark it. But anyway, just food for thought, something to think about.
Yeah, no, I understand that point, and I think that way on certain things as well. Like you said, I mean, whatever might be inspection costs or that kind of thing. If the deal works there, but then I didn't remember to throw in the cost for the inspection. But that's like you said, it's really minimal. Minimal thing to keep you from doing a deal. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take that off if
cool.
Hey Frank.
Yeah.
In Dion's market, it probably is more like 1.5%. Like I think he's buying more expensive properties. So some of those lender like origination fees and stuff like that don't vary like a whole lot, I don't think, between like say if you buy $80,000 house or $180,000 house, I would think they're pretty similar in what the bank fees end up being, you know. So
Mhm.
so with the
Yeah.
lower cost of the property, it's going to be more of a percentage wise. So
Cool.
Yeah, I got you. And that was one of the thoughts that crossed my mind as well, is the price point. You know, Dion's what now between 400 and 600 on his deals, and that's why I brought up the loan amounts earlier, because it might make a difference if the loan is bigger and
Yeah,
the fees go accordingly, right?
yeah, mine are between 400 and 500, so not as expensive as his, but and I know he does that for tax reasons, and I do the same thing.
Mhm.
Hey Frank, did you try a local credit union or anything like that?
I have not tried. I know that was one of the things that I was going to shoot to try and do this past week, was contact some of the local credit unions and stuff in the St. Louis area. I haven't had a chance to do that yet.
Hey Frank, for what it's worth, like once you have like 4 or 5 deals under your belt and you've got like, you've got decent equity in those, like it would be worth starting to meet some of the local commercial lenders. Like even though the last two of the last 5 deals I bought, I could have done conventional lending. I went back to my commercial lender because it was so much easier. They gave me the same or a better rate than I would have gotten, versus conventional. Now it's not 30-year. That's the trick, right? It's they used to do 5, 7, or 9, and then in the last 2 years it's just 5. But if you just want a bridge to get you to lower interest rates, then you finance out, conventional Freddie or Fannie when things get better. But if you're going to continue to grow, now's a good time to start building those relationships with the local commercial lenders.
Okay, thank you. That's a great suggestion.
So I just closed on a property. The loan value or loan amount was 107,200, and the interest rate was 7.5%, and I did a 15-year fix because I like a 30-year fix, but that wasn't an option. It was also a 5-year arm. And my closing costs, which I was really surprised about, was like $1,500 and some odd dollars. So super low closing costs. It's like through the commercial side of lending with the credit union in town. So
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's nice that it was fixed for, even though it was 15 years, it's fixed for that.
Well, they really were like, a lot of people are doing a 5-year, and I'm like, I'd rather, make a little less. It's still cash flowed good. And so I did 15-year.
Cool.
Yeah.
Frank, I got some contacts here in St. Louis if you want to reach out to me. I know a couple pretty decent lenders. So.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Cool. I had if folks are interested, just 3 small tips. I don't know, Frank, if you're wrapped. I was just going to offer.
Oh, yeah.
When we redid the 4-unit, I was asking Matt, like, hey, like, where do I get all my like bathroom vent? Well, I did the butcher block. I'll let him do his epoxy thing. I'm gonna try the farm sink thing, but next unit, the farm sinks came in too late, so we ended up going conventional, but we did the butcher block. Matt's cabinets are great. Just, if you got the lead time to spare, they're worth doing. I asked him on bathroom vanities, and he directed me to Wayfair, and I was a little skeptical, but frankly, Wayfair was friggin' awesome. They delivered right to the door. The quality of the units was not too shabby, and they look great, and they were pretty affordable. The only thing I would caution you is if you order a 36 or 48-inch vanity, do not underestimate how coming all in, right? Like the cabinet, the cultured marble top or cultured stone top. Do not underestimate how heavy those mothers are, because they are really friggin' heavy. Like I was blown away by how heavy the 36-inch was. Like we almost didn't get it up the stairs. So, so that was a lesson learned. And then it's not like recent, it's a couple months ago, but I did my first seller financing deal this year. And I have a script I developed, which I'll try and bring to next week's session for you guys to. I don't know if my script, after like the 5th time I sent it to the guy, is what did it, or he just got so desperate he's like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. But but it was a really good process to go through. Really, and I think I think I'm gonna get more aggressive on doing that going forward. I mean, I must have offered it like 30 times. I got 5 people to talk about it. I had one guy say, Chris, I'm 82. I won't be around in 5 years. Like, I like the idea, but I'll pass, right? And I thought that was kind of funny. But and actually the number one reason why, you know, 3 out of 5 people who didn't do it was because they were just literally like, we're so old, my accountant's like, you may not be around. 1 or 2 were a little nervous, and then one guy finally, after 3 months of back and forth, finally did it. So
Yeah, that's great. That's, you know, what the guys say all the time is just, you know, try 50 times and you'll get one. That's the one that's going to count.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think any seller financing knowledge that anybody has that they can bring to the table is awesome. Because like they talk about having that other tool in the tool belt, you never know when the chance is gonna
Yeah.
come around for you. So it'd be great to have some experience with that.
You know, when
And
the older folks say that, you know, they might not be around, a play you can use there is if they have children, you know, you could obviously have the seller finance note pay them out.
So Jared, that's a great point. I offered that. He said, no, I hate my kids.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
and
Chris, those Wayfair vanities, I mean, whenever I looked at Wayfair, it was always looked like it was like 50 to 100% more expensive than everything else we would buy. So
Oh no.
we have to look at like what section
Yeah.
are we going to find the deals?
Yeah. So 2 things. One, Wayfair, you can sign up for a Wayfair Pro account if you have an LLC, and you get a 10 or 15% discount off the top. Now, I don't know if that applies to the discount, but I bought everything that there was a clearance discount section. I just monitored it over like a couple of weeks and found some good stuff.
Okay.
Their delivery was awesome. They brought it right to the door. Really good. They didn't bring it inside up to the 3rd floor, but they brought it, you know, to the door. But no, I mean, look, I looked at Home Depot, and the stuff at Home Depot was a little bit more expensive and 10 times more crappy. So I was pretty impressed. And I went for nicer. I'm trying to go for nicer on my units. So maybe just one like lesson learned I had, right? So I picked up this quad in the middle of a gut rehab, a woman who wanted to turn it into short-term rentals, and then the city passed an ordinance kind of prohibiting that. And we projected finishing them nicely, like Matt does, right? And I stole Matt's paint color, his cabinets, so kind of a lot of stuff. You know, we were thinking 13 to 1400 for a pretty modest, like 450 to 525 square foot 1 bedroom. And I pushed it to 1550, 1575. And for 2 of them, the other 2 were they were cheaper because one was the 3rd floor and was the 2nd floor. And the first 2 that rented were the most expensive ones. So there is a if you have a really nice product, there are people out there who will want that and they will pay for it. And I was really surprised by that. And then the only other plug I'll make is there's a company that makes LVP flooring called Floret, Flooret. They're an online company. It's a pretty high, it's a higher quality product. You can also sign up for a pro account. If you have an LLC, you get a 12% discount. You can get cheaper stuff at Home Depot, no doubt. You're going to pay $350 to $4 a square foot just for the material here, but the quality and the aesthetics, like it's just a really nice product, right? And I don't know, I might pay a little bit more for that because I trust the quality. And it's been really, and more importantly, it's really easy to install. It installs really well. Not very little scrap due to damage and shrinkage and stuff like that. So I save time on labor as well. So anyway, just tip. And then I've also mastered the art of, if you have dishwashers in your units, I've realized that one of my units I inherited had a Samsung. I'm no longer ever going to buy Samsung or LG appliances. I've had repair guys say, oh yeah, we don't do those because we can't get parts. So, and I have a Samsung dishwasher that I'm going to repair the heater myself when I get around to it, because I took it out and I put in a nice GE one. And while the GE one is not quite as nice, bells, whistles, fancy, but like when you're installing it, you can see that like if anything breaks in the GE, I could fix it probably in about 15 minutes. It's easy accessible, parts look pretty straightforward, very designed for maintainability. I mean, a little bit cheaper for sure, but like the LG and the LG and Samsung, like, I mean, yeah, lovely to look at. You know, when they work great, they're great. But like, I'm not. I had a French door Samsung fridge die, and the guy's like, yeah, like parts are 6 months, and we'd have to braze the new compressor in, and I just end up getting units. So I'm all right. Word to the wise, food stuff to think about.
Yeah, that's all great information. I agree with you on the Wayfair stuff. I'm ordering a couple for this job that we're doing now, and like a 60-inch vanity, single sink. It's a nice gray shaker style cabinet. It's about $600, and then we also needed a 4-foot.
Yeah.
The 4-foot width, the top was about 6. So I like those. And like you said, we ordered one for a project last year that came damaged, and so it took about a week for it to get there. I contacted them. They had me send them a picture of the damage, and the replacement was there the next day, and I just couldn't understand that.
They're really good.
If
They're
you
really
can-
good. Yeah.
But I mean, if they got that one there in a day, how come I couldn't have the first one in a day?
Yeah.
But
All
yeah,
I'm seeing is a sales section. Is there something else I should be looking for on Wayfair to find those?
to find the vanities.
Yeah, it just says sales, but I'm just questioning whether or not I'm in the right place. If I just go to if I just navigate to sale,
I
not all we're looking for.
I have the app on my phone, and
Yeah, I'm checking. Hold on.
so on the top it'll say search Wayfair Professional.
Shop by room, bathroom,
Mhm.
bathroom furniture, bathroom vanities, bathroom vanity sale.
Yeah, they were limited.
yeah.
Well, on my app, they were limited as far as the sizes on the ones that were for sale. They were odd, weird sizes, but even
I'm
that,
seeing
like I said,
I'm seeing 24-inch for 300. I'm seeing 36 inches from, I mean, as low as 400. 72 inches get pricey, and 60 inches get really pricey, but those are too big for my places.
So that's it. It's all. I just get to that sales section. That's what we're talking about, where the prices actually.
Well, no, I think actually if you go to the if you go, even if you go out of this, so just click the let's see. So if you're in the sales section, go up top above the vanity sale, and there's like that progression: home improvement, bathroom remodel, bathroom. So just click bathroom vanities, take you to the main vanities, click all bathroom vanities, or just look at the sizes. Like, just as an example, like, so like I'll go back to sizes. Like if you pick let's see, 24 is too teeny. If you pick a 30-inch vanity as an example, right, for like a 1 or a small 2-bedroom, right? Like, I mean, $400, $300, $300 to $400. I'd be willing to bet you there's a really nice, if you went to Home Depot, you'd see something that's the same price or more, plus they charge you delivery, and it would be a much more crappier quality. So that's been my experience, at least, for what it's worth. So
all right.
yeah, and to talk about the Home Depot delivery, it's gotten worse over the years because they have I don't know what they do. They sub deliveries out to like regular people, and we've had guys cram our LVP in the back of behind their truck seat and all kinds of stuff. It comes bent. I was really, really disappointed in that.
Yeah, and the timing, like they don't give you a time, and they call you the day before, and then they do really dumb stuff. Like they could have easily, like this refrigerator just had to replace. They could have easily brought it in the front door and down the hallway and into the kitchen, but they didn't. They decided to, for whatever reason, take the doors off the freaking refrigerator, take the door off the wall, and just all this dumb stuff. And I'm like, and you couldn't talk to them because they didn't speak English. I'm like, dude, come on.
Yeah. I was just gonna add 2 things. Like the prices I gave you, those are the Wayfair Pro prices. So if you go through their website, you can find out how to sign up for Pro. If I just do the quick math, it looks like, so I'm looking at the 36. Let me go back to the 24s. I go to the 30-inch, sorry, the 30-inch, like Wayfair Pro, I think. So like I'm getting between 15 and 20% discount Wayfair Pro. And then some of them have fast delivery, which is like a 4-day delivery, right? So definitely sign up for the pro, you know, even if you have to just set up an LLC just for that, for no other reason. I think you should have it. You should always, I think you should have at least one LLC just to sign up for all the corporate discounts because it's been super helpful.
Great. Yeah, I'm doing it right now. That's awesome. Sounds good.
Who's next, Frank?
I was gonna check in with Chester, see if he's had any updates on his rehab.
He's talking on mute.
Thanks, Jared. No updates as of yet. Trying to look and see about shopping rates after looking at the disclosure sheet that you had provided a little while ago. I was in the car, so I was on the way back from the store, so couldn't see it all that well, but I had caught a good amount of it, so I was figuring. And was that neighborhood loans? Was that
Brian's, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was from Brian. He sent me that yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, and it's gonna be a while before the actual closing takes place. But I have been in touch with the turnkey company to get updates about the overall process as well as from the lending side with Brian with neighborhood loans about the basics of, you know, all of the things necessary, you know, making sure there's insurance in place, the timing for the home inspection and the appraisal. So, you know, again, just all basic stuff. But everything's kind of just moving right now, really all pending the completion of all of the repairs. So since he said it usually takes somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks, it's I mean, this is like literally this middle of the second week, so I don't anticipate any major updates until the earliest, probably end of the month. But if anything does come up between now and then, you know, definitely we'll let everybody know what's going on. And so likely there will probably be much more activity like mid-July, late July, early August timeframe as we get closer to the so it's supposed to be a 30-day closing window, but we're in contract now to include the time frame for the renovations. So this portion of the time is not going to be, I guess, counted towards everything. So it'll just kind of be like, hey, just so nobody else tries to, like, you know, underbid or undercut you or whatever, we'll go ahead and lock everything in, finish up all of the rehab, then start, you know, basically from, I don't remember what the,
Is it a novation or is it just somebody's already doing rehab on it?
yeah, so they're already doing rehab. And so going into contract with it, like it's just basically going to be the closing date. I don't know, whatever the last Friday of August 30th. So basically the closing date is August 30th. So it's simply accounting for that, you know, again, that roughly 2-month window of all the rehab. And then that's when essentially, at least from my understanding, that's kind of when the clock is going to start ticking from that point.
Cool. Very cool. We're waiting with you. Waiting is the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, since there's really nothing, I don't want to say major, but since there's no like actions, I guess, on my part, like I don't really have anything to be able to kind of say, hey guys, you know, there's this, that, and the third. But that actually did, because I saw the Was it the closing disclosure statement? Was that the document that you were showing?
Yeah, this one that he sent was the loan cost summary.
Okay, loan cost summary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, until I see anything like, I don't want to say official, but I can't think of a better word. But until I start to see things where it's like, okay, hey, you're going to be responsible for X, Y, and Z. And so that's why I said, doing things like shopping, insurance right now. And then also looking around. I caught a little bit of the conversation around the different credit unions. So I'm looking in for Michigan-based credit unions, and at least from what I've seen, most of them, I guess this is probably a question to ask. I probably don't need to be a member of the credit union to get a loan with them, but I imagine it would probably likely be beneficial, but definitely open to any comments or thoughts on it.
If you got capital, if you put money with that credit union, become a member and put money with them, I think you can potentially get favorable rates. I'm looking into doing that right now. That's what I've heard. I'm not sure if it's true. Maybe somebody else has done it.
Yeah, I think that's true because I did the same thing with our local credit union. I wasn't a member before, and I only opened an account because one of my customers was a member and they gave me a check from that credit union. So in order to cash the check, I had to become a member. So I've been a member for about 5
Smart.
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figure, worst comes to worst, it wouldn't necessarily hurt. Especially if, again, planning to, purchase more properties, So, okay, that makes sense. So,
Yeah. Just
Okay.
it's part of a bunch of information that is just going to help you for the next one.
yeah. And then, as part of and I haven't into all of the info yet, that Jeffrey sent about the SOPs, but that was one of the comments that I was putting into the chat right before I left was this could be something where maybe like a repository or like a folder of some sort of like, you're looking into doing, acquisitions of whatever type, here's some considerations or SOPs for, whatever it is that you're looking for. So just something along those lines that I was kind of thinking about. And then along that same line, I put the link for the E-Myth. Michael Gerber is the guy who I was trying to think of. He came up with what's called the E-Myth, which is just entrepreneurial, the E-Myth series. And that was one of the big things that he harps on is if you don't have standardized processes, you don't have a business. And, even if we don't think that, I'll put it this way, even though we think that even though we are real estate investors, real estate investing is still a business because it's a services-based business. So that's why I put that in there, because I think it was Chad Carson who was one of the co-authors. And I know we all had
was he?
I believe so. I'd have to go back in, but I do have the link in there. In the chat. I literally just pulled it up from Amazon and was just like, hey, let me type this in real quick and then send it before I head out to the store. But
All of
he
Gerber's stuff is really good.
yeah.
I've read at least.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, it was because Chad Carson was the one who narrated it, the Audible version. So I was actually listening on it, and he was the one who had narrated it on Audible. So definitely worth a listen. Fairly easy read, and the way it kind of goes is like Chad will narrate one chapter, and then Gerber will narrate a chapter, and they kind of go back and forth. But it plays off of each other, and all of the concepts build off of each other. Now this is for somebody who's literally getting started, but the stuff about the SOPs and, treating it like a business, that's all useful stuff, I think, for everybody. So, and I can put that in the chat again.
Yeah, the Amazon link doesn't have the Audible option, which is weird because it normally does, but I'm putting that in the chat right now for the Audible version.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Is that the same thing? Yeah, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Definitely appreciate that.
Put it on Audible.
One of the
And then-
things that popped into my head real quick, Travis and Esther, are you there?
Yeah, I'm
Hi,
here.
Esther. Travis was talking earlier. I don't know if you heard, but he's in the St. Louis market as well. Travis, Esther has just started researching the St. Louis area. She connected with the agent that we've been working with and the lender that I was just talking about. I wonder later on, maybe we might be able to connect and chat about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, what I was wondering, do you guys pay buyer agent when you purchase property?
On the one that we bought, I did. It was, I think theirs was $5,000.
Yeah, by $5,000 minimum commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I share the screen really quick? Mark had a question about some image of some sort. Let me see where this is. All right, Mark, let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Mark, was this what you were referring to? Like, is this something that you
Yeah, but did you have to click on it to see it, or did it appear in the chat as like the image itself?
all it said was live.jpg, and then when I clicked it, yeah, that's when it said it downloaded and everything.
Okay, thanks.
Was this what you were looking for to do, or?
No, yeah, I didn't know if it appeared like on you guys' side, like the actual picture, you could just see the picture without having to click on it, or you had to click on it to bring it up.
I had to click on it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Because it asks you if you want to download. I think it's a safety thing. So.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I don't think it was what Jared was referencing in the chat. I don't think it was a
Whatever do you mean?
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, so that I have to put it under a separate file.
Gotcha. Okay.
They're not going to let you back in Vegas next year, Mark.
Hey,
Yeah,
That's
bring in a
what-
pseudo name.
hey, Mark, if you want to put
No.
the image into the chat, what you do is if you're on a Windows system, I don't know if you are, but you can hit Shift, Windows, and S, and it's a snippet. And so you can capture anything on the screen and then put it in there. That way it's not a JPEG file, it's actually an image. So you can see I used Chester's beautiful face there.
That's hilarious. I looked at it, I was like, what in the world happened? That's classic. Oh
We're gonna
god.
have some fun somehow, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Cynthia's gonna put us in detention pretty soon. though.
Oh yeah. Hey Frank, tell Cynthia you're 6'4". She's like, no, he's not. He's 6'3".
Oh, that's hilarious. And the funny thing is, because of the whatever this the image of the background, and then with the light overhead, it literally looks like I'm in outer space. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
All right. What else?
But-
What else you guys got? Sam, what are you doing? You got anything cooking?
Yeah. So let's see. You guys know that I have about a house that needed a lot of work from the foundation to the roof, and it's been a few months, couple months now that I been working with looking for contractors, and what got me was I was looking for a contractor that has both insurance liability and workers' comp to protect workers as well. Now the problem is I'm in Texas, so in Texas the workers' comp, or they call it workman comp, is optional. So it's not. Texas is the only state that it's.
Well, all right then.
We lost him.
There he goes.
Man
I don't
down,
know.
man down.
Are we still here?
Yeah, we lost you for a bit. We're back.
Okay, all right. But I was talking about the insurance liability and the workers' comp, and probably my internet wasn't working great. But and then Texas doesn't have mandatory workers' comp, so every single contractor I work for, or I talked to, they didn't have it, and so I was in that trap for a while now, and some of them would say we have insurance liability and they don't, and so I finally I just it was honestly a little frustrating because I feel like I'm not making any progress. Finally, I talked to a local investor here, and what she was saying is like these companies that will have these insurances, and probably last about to mention that if a company has insurances and workers' comp, well they will charge you, they will upcharge you, and then yes, they have the insurance, but the cost will be very high now, and they can charge you and go spend the money in the Bahamas, and so what she said, get the maybe get the home, get a property insurance yourself, and up the personal what do you call it, the liability in there, up the numbers in there, and then on top of that get the umbrella policy, and that will give me up to like $1 million for any incident. And so if some of these workers get hurt at the house, at least I have some coverage to cover them, and then I can shop for some contractors who don't even have to have the workers' comp or the other one. I mean, so that kind of so far that's kind of the idea. It's a new process for me, so I was kind of in that cycle, but I think that just put me at ease now. I mean, anyone here may have an idea. I mean, I know it's always better to have them carrying the insurances and workers' comp, but it's been a little annoying. We don't find that. If I don't find it.
Yeah, that's a tough one if it's if it's only your state that doesn't require it. I mean, California requires all that stuff, but it sounds like the policy. Have you checked prices to see how much it would cost you to get that kind of a policy while they're doing the work?
Yeah, I did. So one quote with the deductible was, and he gave me 300,000 for the gosh, what is it? Not the medical, it's the other one. It's the
Damages.
Yeah, what is it?
Liability, damages, that sort of thing.
Yeah, liability. I mean, if I have it, I will pull it. But it's 300. It was 100,000. I increased that to 300,000. So the charge for that for the whole year was about $1,700, $1,750, and then
Per month?
so that's no 1750 per year
Oh,
per
okay.
year. That's
That gave me a heart attack.
oh yeah, yes. No. It's, if that's that would be a little bit too much. 1750 was my deductible. And on top of that, I sent her the quote for the umbrella policy. So having both umbrella policy won't pay until my insurance will pay, the house insurance will pay, and then so if they pay 300,000 for any incident, and then the umbrella policy will pay another, let's say it's $1 million, so they pay for the other 700,000. I mean that way I just I have the insurance. I can you know, it kind of feels a little safer, and in my situation just but yeah, that's it. So I think an idea, but I mean, I was gonna ask you, Frank, but yeah, like it's tough because it's mandatory then, and no one has it. I talked to almost 25 people, 25 contractors here, and none of them have it. So unless if I go with a big company that will charge probably double the price, probably won't find it. Just some silence here. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
It's
you.
kind
Just
of breaking up a
you're
little
breaking
bit.
up quite a bit, so that's why I was putting the max headroom in there for you older folks who know who that is.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what happens. What's going on with the internet today? My apology.
No worries. I'm gonna crash soon, but I was just curious. Anybody have any burning issues or questions? Because I was gonna say if there's of interest, like for me, the big things that maybe we could do a future session on is like you hear these stories about people grow too quickly, and I always used to say, "Oh, I'll never do that," right? Yeah, I took on 3 deals and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings in 2 months. And I am trying to figure out how I'm going to not have my family eat tuna fish for the rest of the year. So that could be an interesting session to figure out, for a future one. But I don't know, anybody else got any major burning platforms or issues?
I have a question about portfolio management. But I don't know. I got to talk to somebody about. I have equity in 3 of the 4 homes, and I haven't tapped into it yet because I have other capital. But I would like to proactively look into how people do that, right? So, but not burning. That's down the road.
Got it.
Well, Chris, I will agree with you on that session because I'm an idiot just like you.
Yeah, feeling pretty silly.
So I guess
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Chester.
The question I was gonna ask was about I guess is it a matter of like deal flow, meaning you see a good deal and then based on whatever existing reserves you've got, is it something where you're like, okay, I think I can swing this, and then you find that one, so you find then another good um an, another comparatively good deal, and then just kind of build like that? Or is it just like uh a quote unquote once in a lifetime opportunity, or like is it just
I can answer. So my day job is I work in a company that we do restructuring. So like we go into companies who are in trouble and help them get through or avoid bankruptcy, right? So it creeps up on you. So like, you know, last year I took on, so like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I bought turnkeys, or 3 years ago, I bought turnkeys. 2 years ago, I bought ones that they were not turnkey, but it was like a little bit of lipstick in the pig and they were good, right? And then
Turnkey
like
light.
last year, turnkey light, right? And last year I bought like, yeah, we're actually like, we're going down to the studs. We're maybe moving stairwells. We're moving walls, right? Took on 2 of those projects, right? And you know, it was manageable. And then, you know, meanwhile, I'm chasing like the deal. So that was 23. We're doing those renovations, and I had budgets for those deals, and I thought I was in good shape. And I trust the contractors; they're good sorts. And I'm hunting the deals for this year. And I say, oh, I got a really good war chest this year. I can do some good deals. Chasing 3 deals, 6 months chasing the deals, nothing. Right, 1 seller financing, 2 traditional, nothing happens. And then like they all hit between December 27th and February 2nd, all of them. And I'm like, well, you know, I'm in good shape. Meanwhile, in parallel, the 2 construction jobs last year, which are, one is done and one will be done by the end of this month, go collectively between the 2 of them, almost 100 grand over budget. So now my war chest, which was, you know, I thought I'd do 2 deals this year. I did 3 because I thought, well, you know, I'm in good shape. I've got some extra reserves. Now my reserves are gone. I am very cash poor this year, and I'm gonna have to tap like my 401k or something comparable to be able to finish the deals. You know, the some of the stuff I bought, it was kind of sort of like light turnkey, but one of them is a construction project, and that is coming in higher than I originally estimated. So that's the kind of stuff that gets you. There's a cascade, and you know, you don't hold true to having like hard reserves. And the thing for me, the biggest thing, I think the lesson I learned is when you have multiple overlapping construction projects, so that, you know, like I had one last year, it's going to finish early this year, and I bought something that was going to start this year. If I think about the weakest part of my capabilities, it's estimating like the conversion cost, right? The you know, make ready cost, right? I am still like way far from being able to estimate that accurately. And some of the properties I bought, they're older, you get surprises. So it sneaks up on you, right? It's not one thing, it's a bunch of stuff that kind of piles up, and you get confident, and you know, you don't hold true to reserves and that kind of stuff. But that's my humble opinion, kind of, you know, where I landed.
So do you do you have any sort of rules of thumb with rehab, like the 6/5 rule or anything like that, where all that is just, you know, whatever numbers you come up with, you know, fairly close to what you believe it to be, and then, you know, just add 20% or something like that? Or is it just kind of
Yeah,
like,
I have really good. I'm really good at, like, I got really good at like light turnkey. Like if I have to redo a bathroom, if I have to redo flooring, I have to redo a roof, I have to redo kitchen. Yeah, that's not what kills me. It's like, oh, we had to, you know, we're gutting everything, and like, you know, oh, like you know, it's the major renovation. Like, oh, you know, we had to move the plumbing stack, right? Oh, we had to move the HVAC system because of the way the stairs laid out. Like, you know, it's the major construction stuff that I'm just way an amateur there to be able to get those costs right. And I've got good contractors, but even they're like, you know, they're not willing to commit to a hard number, so they're going to give me very broad numbers with a lot of fluff. So I got a lot of work to do there to get better.
gotcha. So like, I don't know whether this would necessarily qualify in the same vein, or, you know, even if I may be, you know, just way off, you know, Frank, definitely please chime in if this is, you know, I'm just out of my wheelhouse. But, you know, things along the lines of like a rough-in, um just major structural level work, it sounds like, right? Just anything
Yeah,
where something
totally.
big inside the house needs to either be moved
Yeah.
or updated or upgraded.
Yeah, and like, oh, the permitting process we thought would take 6 weeks, it took 14 weeks, right? It's that kind of stuff, right? And then since we did that, the contractors got other jobs, and then instead of, you know, being ready after 8 weeks, they didn't come back until week 20, right? So now you're and I'm covering all those debt costs, the mortgage costs, and the tax costs, the utility costs, and all that stuff just piles up.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that can eat you alive. So I guess one question then, in terms of like, I guess relative to let's say 2021 timeframe, I would imagine there's at least a little bit of a slowdown, but is that what you're seeing with the contractors you're working with? Like, are they still like, hey, I've got 15 other jobs, so if you want this one to be on our schedule, you got to pay an extra 10%, or is it just like, you pick up the phone and on the first ring, they're already responding saying, hey, how's everything going? You got any jobs? Like, is it kind of one of those deals?
I can offer you two perspectives just from my lens, right? Like, so like one of the units we bought was a multi-unit. It's a triplex residential, 3 units. And then the garage, which was built, the building was built in 1920, right? The garage over time has evolved into a 200-person catering hall. I shit you not, right? And over COVID, I was new. I did not have the network. I didn't know who the good contractors were, and I couldn't find contractors because they were all sold out. Now I've found the good contractors, and they're generally pretty readily accessible, right? So they're not, so I think that's less of an issue. But that being said, labor costs are higher, material costs are higher. The catering hall has a 45 slot parking lot. I got some preliminary quotes back in 21, 22. It would have cost me 30 grand to get it resurfaced. Now my quotes range from 48 to 82 grand, right? So like big change, right? And then I inherit, one of my friends from high school is a maintenance guy. He's a handyman. He works with a more senior handyman. And they did one of my units. And they do good work. They're not fast, but they do good work. But last year when they were converting one of my units, they did a great job, but it took them forever because like they were squeezing me in between other jobs. They were so busy. Now, they're calling me every week going, hey, we only have like 1.5 days of work this week. Like instead of big bathrooms and kitchens, they've got a lot of little handyman, half day, 1 day stuff. And they're short on work. And the sense we're getting that I would talk to the guy who runs the business, and he's like, people are, they're very cautious. They're pushing off large jobs. They're being, very price sensitive, even on small jobs. And so like, I actually hired the guy who's my high school buddy, who's like the junior guy. I'm actually hiring him half time now as my maintenance guy. Just because I have enough stuff that I can keep him kind of busy and he can kind of earn a decent living because his boss isn't getting enough work. So I think now is a good time to, if you can find quality people, it's a good time to try and get stuff done. But like, I'm encouraged by the rents I'm getting. I've got, I had 5 people coming up for lease renewal, or 5 or 6, and they all renewed. I did somewhere between modest and medium rent increases. I generally only increase rents every 2 years. They all took it. A few had a couple minor maintenance requests, which I think were totally reasonable. So I'm going to do that. So like people are willing to pay more for a good place to live, where they trust the landlord and they're getting a good, safe place to live. But I think people are being really conservative. And that could be good for us on the maintenance side, because I think we're going to find the maintenance folks, like, so another example, like Lancaster, right? PA, right? My roofers are an Amish company. They do amazing work. I mean, just like the best work I've seen. They do siding, trim, roofing, and they're a little bit on the pricey side, but they do great work. Usually when I call them, and they're really, super courteous, right? They're like, oh, Chris, obviously we'd love to work with you. We don't have slots for like another 6-8 weeks. I'm having to quote a couple medium-sized jobs on buildings I own now. And on one of them, I'm like it's a flat roof. There's a compressor on the roof. They've got to move it. And I have other stuff. And I'm like, hey, I want you to do some of the smaller stuff now, and then the rest of it we'll do later when I have some more cash flow. I just need some time to catch up. They actually called me and said, hey, like, we'd really like to do some of this other work. Like, we're willing to like let you pay us over time, which to me is an interesting thing. So, take it as one data point, right? But there's definitely some slowdown that I think folks are feeling. Yeah, anyway, for what it's worth.
Okay, interesting. So I guess it probably, that was a good point. I think you also brought up about the quality of the contractors, because again, not every contractor
Oh yeah.
has the same quality. So
I know Dion swears by Thumbtack, but I had a guy on Thumbtack who practically stalked me. Like, we had a tree come down in our yard. It was a tree that we built a tree house for my daughters when they were little, and now they're, in college. So, and I was like, hey, I need somebody to cut it up, and that there's tree house pieces and there's large pieces, and get it to a couple of people. Guy gave me a good price. I'm like, okay, tell me when you could do it and what, give me and he's like, well, I want to see it. And I sent him pictures. And then I got this text from him like, okay, I'm ready to start tomorrow. I'm like, wait a minute, we haven't agreed. I said, I still need final pricing. He's like, oh, I already went out and rented a truck and bought stuff to do this. And I'm like, whoa. Like, and then he's like, well, like, hey, don't make me come to your house. And I'm like, try it. Just try it, right? I'm ex-Army ROTC, and if you want to come to my house, we can have a discussion, no problem, right? So, like, it was spooky, and after that, I'm a little leery of Thumbtack. I'm sure I'll go back to it, but it was, yeah, it was very wonky. So
yeah, that's a massive outlier. I'm totally honest with you. That is a.
I'm sure it is, and I'm sure there's good experiences, but that was a bad first experience.
So one of the things that you can also do, because in order, I believe, to stay on the Thumbtack platform, the contractors get ratings. You can, I believe, not only give them like a 1, or I don't even know if 0 stars is possible, but give them a really bad rating, and I believe you can report them directly to Thumbtack and tell them, in detail, hey, here's the things this person was doing, essentially stalking and whatnot. And
yeah,
I believe it only takes like 1 or 2 bad report or reviews for that person to get kicked off that platform.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna risk it. I just I ghosted him at that point, but yeah, it was spooky. So
yeah, but that's
I'm like, hey,
crazy.
I'm like, hey, if you bought stuff, fine, drop it off and I'll pay you for it, or send me a receipt and then you can give it to me and then I'll take it. But silence, right? So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, odd is definitely an understatement. But yeah, so but that does help in terms of kind of having like a sense of like, it and again, based on the quality, sounds like the higher the quality, usually, generally speaking, the more in demand. And again, to kind of compensate, their prices will be a little bit higher, like the Amish supplier that you were referencing.
Sure.
So it sounds like that kind of makes sense then.
But there is a broader global slowdown I'm seeing, and yeah, and I've had some really like fly by night guys give me like wish pricing, right? So I think what I've learned is I'm to the point now where if you find one person you trust in an area, a real estate agent, a plumber, an electrician, a roofer, ask them who they trust to do the work, who they would trust in the market, go to partner with, who do those on their houses. Like the referral thing is a great first filter. And then I give them a small job, and if that works out, I give them a bigger job, right? And then you kind of continue to grow. And then I think, as you do that, you build rapport, and you can be really candid, like, okay, like I get 6 jobs for you. I want to pay for these 3 out of cash flow for my job, from my rental, which means, it's going to be later this year. These 2 are important. I actually need them done kind of soon because it's like a leakish or whatever. And yeah, eventually you find the right people. And I'll tell you one thing, like I have Lancaster dialed in so tight. I got all the contractors lined up. I know the people, I know the city inspector. It's just so easy to do business there, right? It makes life really, really, really easy.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely good stuff.
The other thing I noticed with contractors is that they will come and give, let's say they give, to come give a quote, and then after that, I think that was on Thumbtack too, they will send a bill of, let's say $60 or $70 for for the visit. I'm like, but then I asked I don't think you have anything that says you have, you know, you charge for your quote or your estimate, and then they say, oh no, we have it on the website. And then I said, like, which website is it? And probably they're talking about their website, but it's not on Femtech. So you gotta be aware of that too, and ask some
Yeah.
people if is it a free estimate, or is it
That's a great
is it,
point.
do they charge for estimate? Because
Yeah.
sometimes they're not upfront about it, and they will come back and they send you like a bill, and like you don't have to pay it because there's nothing. There's nothing that they mentioned.
And if I didn't make the appointment through the website, I'd be like, look, I called you. You didn't say, you didn't say it was a build estimate. So, you can take that out of the project work, right? Or you cannot do work for me again. Those are your choices, right? So
yeah, there you go. You go. Frank, I was going to ask you a question. I saw a house that I'm interested in, but I'm not sure. So, is it possible for a house in the past that is going to be it has 2 stories, but at the same time it's built on it's either pier and beam or block and beam. Like there's like it's not on a slab. Is that possible from the building standpoint, like engineering standpoint? Is that something that you can build 2 stories on a pier and beam or a block and beam instead of just a slab? Because I was saying that's not possible, but my insurance agent was telling me the other day about it, and I was like, well, I just didn't know it exists. You're muted, Frank.
Yeah, that's pretty typical to be able to go 2 stories on it. So they would have a perimeter foundation, right? It's block or concrete all the way out on the outside walls, and then you can have posts and beams in the field or in the middle of that area.
Okay, and does that hold? Does that hold when you have a house built with a brick on the outside? Because this house was all brick, and does that hold it for a while, for a long time? Like, there's no issues?
Yeah, I would think because the whole exterior being brick, the foundation under the brick portions would be built, I would say, heavy duty enough to support the brick. What's in the middle is typically all wood and regular framing, right? So that doesn't need to have that kind of a structure. So
Yeah,
when you get your inspection, because back in the old days, like they would build the foundations. We were looking at duplexes, up down duplexes in Minnesota, for example, and those were built on just piles of rocks. On some of the really old ones, that's how they used to do it. But then, of course, how old was the home you were looking at? Do you know?
Yeah, it's 1948. That's the film. So it's interesting to me to know that, and because the insurance agent said, yeah, you see the steps going to the door on each side of the house. That means there is this space underneath the house, and that means it's not a slab. It's and I mentioned it's 2 stories. She said, yeah, that it's kind of what they did. So that was kind of interesting.
You brought to mind one of my customers. Even their home being built on the side of a hill is the same. So it's got a concrete foundation, perimeter foundation, but then underneath it's just piers and posts. Yeah.
So it's basically crawl space. Space.
Yeah.
And Frank, does that make changing plumbing maybe easier? Probably. Or maybe it doesn't.
Yes, a lot of times, like if you have a slab foundation, a lot of times all the plumbing and everything is under the slab, and then they just bring the pipes up, say in the kitchen or the bathrooms. So if we've had instances like where we were remodeling a bathroom and we were cutting through the slab to relocate the drains, and the incoming water was in copper pipe underneath the slab. We actually cut it because it was too shallow. There's that's still so my concern sometimes is if that plumbing goes bad and you have to do something different. Sometimes people, hopefully the house has an attic, and then you could bring the water up into the attic and then drop it down to the bathroom or the kitchen or wherever you need it. In a lot of the older ones, it was flat roofs, so there wasn't a lot of space to run plumbing and things like that. But so I would rather have a work on a home anyway that has a crawl space versus a slab, because any little thing you'll see on YouTube all the time where the guys are having to chisel out the concrete around the copper pipe because
Yeah.
the hole is too close to the slab. So they got to chip it out
Right.
so they can get enough pipe so they can attach new plumbing to it.
Frank, can you run water through unconditioned spaces? Like I'm in like New England, Mid-Atlantic. Could you run plumbing through an unconditioned space?
Here we can because our temperatures are not that.
Oh, okay. Where
That-
are you located?
I'm in California.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah. One thing they make us do here, so the inspectors will ask us when we replumb something, they'll have us more for energy than anything. They'll have us wrap the hot water side to help keep the heat in the pipes while it's moving. And then, like, for example, when we're plumbing a bathroom or something, you'll want to be careful if you're plumbing on an exterior wall, make sure that that's really insulated well. And I think most of the time nowadays they try to bring the plumbing up in an interior wall. That way it's not really exposed to the outside temperatures. I know you guys have really, really drastic winters.
So I'll expand on that, Chris, from what Matt has told me in some things. Basically, if you can avoid plumbing like on exterior walls like altogether, do so. But if not, two things. One, make sure the wall's insulated, and then insulate the pipes separately from the walls, and insulate them with Well, I don't know. Well, I don't think they really have rock wool for pipe insulation, but get like a good R value fiberglass. And just to be safe rather than sorry, like I'd put like I insulate all my boiler pipes in the basement just because like if I get a negative 30-degree day and some fool leaves the basement door open, I'm screwed. If you know, I don't care how hot the well, at the very least the water supply line pipe from the boiler is going to get screwed, and yeah, I'm going to have a major boiler breakdown.
Yeah, those are all good points. I think we have the one triplex in St. Louis, and recently it had two furnaces for the building, but we did some mini splits upstairs in the upper two units, and so they converted one of the furnaces for the basement only, and it's set to come on when the temperature hits 50 degrees, I think, to keep that area from freezing. And I think there's like the kits for wire wrapping around water pipes to keep them from freezing as well. And they usually also have alerts to alert homeowners and renters to leave the water dripping and that kind of thing when the temperatures drop that low. Don't
All right,
tell me.
guys, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off because I got another bright and early morning. But definitely appreciate, as always, Frank, putting these together.
Of
Uh,
course.
definitely always learning quite a bit. And like I said, once I have more updates, hopefully we'll be able to, uh, keep everybody up to date with how everything's going with the property.
Yeah, for sure. We'll look forward to chatting with you next week. Thank you,
Alrighty.
Chris,
What
too.
is Dion doing something this Saturday, or am I getting the dates jumbled?
He said something about a members only, I think next Tuesday after his live.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, I will see everybody here next week, whether it be next Tuesday or next Wednesday. See
All
you
right.
guys soon.
Take care. I was just gonna say, don't tell me we're gonna end early tonight. It's only been 2 hours and 20 minutes. Anybody got anything else before we go?
I was gonna say, Frank, I think what Chris was saying about the seller financing is such a great example, and maybe if we can chat a little bit more about it, and maybe for those who did seller financing at some point, would be very interesting as a session to have and to share ideas. Uh, and I have I've been listening and focusing on that subject for some time now too, and just trying to acquire information. But for those who did it, it seems like it's such a great session to have, and if, in the future if we can.
Yeah, that's what I was telling him too. He's gonna bring something next week that he can show us, he can talk to us about, and anybody else in the group that has any experience like that, because like I was telling him, you never know when that opportunity is going to come up for you. It'd be nice to be a little bit better prepared, that way you can jump on it right away.
Oh, that's great. All right, that's great. Yeah, but thanks for that. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, cool.
Guess we'll not reach the 4 hours today.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Hey, I got one for you, Frank.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with a Section 8 tenant, like it said, if I'm able to close on this duplex, I'll be taking it over, and there'll be a tenant in place. I guess after I take it over, will I be signing a new lease with that tenant?
Are you going to manage the property yourself?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, no, I believe their lease stays in place. And
Is it month to month or is it a year lease?
Do you know, Travis?
The way I read the lease, it sounds like it auto renews every year. Like if the tenant or the owner don't give 30-day notice that they want to terminate the lease, it just automatically renews. So I'm guessing, like, to me, it sounds like the lease ends July 31st or whatever. And then I'm guessing if nobody says they want to terminate by July 1st, then it would, automatically renew at the end of July.
Yeah,
I would contact Rent Assistance and tell them that you just bought it and ask them what you got to do. I know for us, it'll transfer into our name, and during lease renewal time is when we can do increases and stuff like that, and change like our lease and stuff. So, I would look at that right now. I know Milwaukee, we have to do We have to like let them know 90 days ahead of time, I think is what it is in Milwaukee. So check and see what their rules are.
Yeah, I think in St. Louis, if I remember right, it was 60 days in advance. And when we took that tenant, we had just missed the deadline to do any rent increases or anything. So this year, the property manager they just sent me a bunch of information letting me know what they think the rents could go to if we wanted to do an increase, and that they were starting the process now.
What is the window to do any increases? Is that a certain time of the year?
No, it's a couple months before the lease expires. So
Okay.
so you're mentioning July 31st. That was kind of how we got into ours too. We were like in the middle of the month before the lease ended. And so we weren't able to do an increase that year, but last year. But so that might be the case. Are the rents okay for you right now? Or were you counting on an increase to help the deal work?
No, I wasn't counting on an increase, but I think it is probably $300 lower than what it should be. So I'm not sure why like there wasn't increases done in the past. Maybe there was, just not that much. I don't know, but
Yeah, like when we were going through when we were going through the lumberjacks course, he was really big on, getting to know who the person is that's, I don't know, it's like your tenant's caseworker or something like that. To get in contact with them and find out, like Brett was saying, find out how things work in your area. And I guess you'll be in the loop on everything. All the emails and everything should be coming to you. In our case, since we have a property manager, we needed to ask the property manager to copy us on all the, electronic communications between them and the caseworker and things like that. And I know Jason's not here tonight, but he just went through the whole thing with Section 8 because he bought a fourplex in Chicago. It was full of Section 8 tenants. And he might have a little bit more information on what he had to do too than me.
yeah, it's kind of hard to pick up information just like by reading, or I was
Yeah.
looking a little around on YouTube, and there's not a whole lot of real concise information about at least what I'm looking for anyway.
Right. Yeah, I would contact whatever agency is yours for your jurisdiction, and then start there as soon as you can. So you're under contract, or you already closed?
Under contract. So we're doing our inspections tomorrow. But I think it's gonna work out. Like I said, even with that one rent being significantly lower, I guess that's what drew me to the deal was all the numbers just make sense, from a lot of different angles, like getting 2 units for, like $130,000 a piece, and this property traded hands like 3 years ago, and the price now is not a whole lot more than what it was then. And there's other comparables that are significantly more, so in the same neighborhood. So I think they underpriced it. But
yeah, what are you said you were paying how much for it? 240?
it was listed for 270. So
270.
I'm a real estate agent as well, and I was like, they have like our realist values and stuff like that, and you can try to look up other comparables, but they had it listed, like I think Zillow had it for like 305, and my realist on my realtor thing said 315. So
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it definitely made sense. So I told my wife, I'm like, you can't tell me no on this one. I know I've been looking for a while, it's on the
Yeah.
MLS, it's so competitive. Um, I actually was able to get it while it's still in the coming soon.
Oh, nice.
I saw it and my son needed some practice driving and I'm like, come on, let's go. And then the next morning I was telling my wife about it. I'm like, I need to do something today. So I wrote a good offer and had it accepted by the next morning. So
That's really great. We've been finding the same thing, like I was saying earlier, even with the little 3 ones that make sense for us. I've sent a few to our agents that pop up and they're gone in a snap.
yeah, we've got a couple wholesalers here and I've routinely seen one sell in as little as an hour. Like I don't even know how they do it. Like it's amazing to me how fast they can get them sold. But
Yeah, that's a little frustrating.
yeah, it's hard to compete with that. Like when you got a job and like other family responsibilities and stuff. It's like I think some of these people just sit at home waiting for.
They have to.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have to work. They got a pile of cash sitting around and
Do you guys
Yeah,
do you guys know how much? Do you guys know how easy it is to remove trees, and shrubs in the property at St. Louis area?
we haven't had any trees removed yet. We just had a little bit of tree trimming done at our place there. Um, did you get in touch with Nathan?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would.
But he's not in St. Louis. He's in St. Peter's, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. When I look at some properties that have trees, I just wonder how easy it is. Do we need to get a permit, or there is a property that has a large tree, that's the neighbors.
Mhm. Do you mean, are you looking in areas that Nathan doesn't manage in?
Yeah, I think he said he manages St. Louis.
Yeah, because he manages ours. I would send him an email and check with him. He probably knows.
Mhm.
I know a lot of a lot of the ones I've been looking at for the last couple of days, you know, if there isn't a big tree in the front yard, there's a bunch of trees in the backyard. And I mean, as far as roof maintenance and gutters clogging and all that stuff, so I'm looking for starting to look for properties that don't have that many trees behind them and things like that, just
Yeah,
to make the maintenance a lot easier.
yeah, or away from the house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but shoot, they're all so old. The trees are so huge, and
Yeah.
like you said, it could be in the neighbor's backyard, but it covers both houses.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I second that, Frank. That's a big expense if you have to take one of those big trees down. It could be $4,000 or $5,000, like,
Yeah.
and you don't get anything out of that, like, so
No.
I almost like, it would have to be a really good deal for me to pick up one with a big tree, or especially with more than one big tree, like.
Right. Yeah. I'm
For,
gonna.
for me, the insurance that I'm using is really cautious about trees overhang the house.
What
So
company is that, Esther?
it's a Path something.
Path Insurance.
Yeah, Path Insurance Solution.
Okay. I'll reach out to Nathan and just ask him if he has an idea, if there's a big tree
Yeah.
that needs to come down. I imagine, I mean, he could probably give you a ballpark, but it is gonna depend on, you know, obviously the size of the tree and the large branches and things like that, access, you know, if they're gonna be able to get their machinery to the tree to get it taken down and things like that. What did you say? Because you had one taken down in Gary, right?
Yeah, Gary is very reasonable actually.
Oh, what did it cost you there?
Cost me 1,000.
Yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
And did they take it down and grind the stump?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Esther, you were talking about the senior housing thing. Are you looking more into that?
Oh, that was Alicia when I talked to her.
Uh-huh.
So she has that idea, but I haven't found any. I mean, I haven't found any properties yet, and I'm not sure which area in St. Louis is good actually. But
Okay.
she has been sending me like single family about 130,000, those things. One is 95,000. So it's kind of not sure about that. Yeah. To invest to those.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about it. It's a new area, so we need to learn about the area. Right.
Yeah, that's true. The person there, the guy that was on the other night that did the website, was it Better Investments or Better? He was talking about, because he was in 63118. That looks like a really nice area.
Which one?
63118 is a zip code in St. Louis that the guy, I forget his name. His last name was Callahan, but he's the developer of that software for
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Donato
Yeah.
from Bright
Yeah.
Bright
Yeah.
Investor.
Bright Investor, that's it. Yeah,
Mhm.
Donato.
He Frank, he wants to jump on more often, but not to show any. I mean, just to jump on, and he thought you guys were pretty cool, so he wanted to jump on.
Oh yeah, do you speak with him regularly, or do you know him?
Yeah, I mean, he from before. I mean, just so, but he had fun last time, so he wanted to hop on more often. He said if it was okay. I said
Yeah.
I gotta check with the Grand Poobah. I told him.
Well, we really appreciate it. We are, I guess I don't know. I guess we're trying to screen a little bit, you know,
Oh no,
but
that's fine. Yeah.
everybody that we've met so far has been awesome. And
Can we get rid of Brett though somehow?
Brett's gone. He doesn't like
we
to be
just
on when you're on.
Can we like ban him for life?
Look at, there's only what? There's only 7 of us here since you came.
Hey, Travis is
Hey.
in here.
Hey,
Yeah.
Travis, do you live in St. Louis area or Missouri area?
Yeah, I live in St. Charles, Missouri. So it's just right across the river from St. Louis County.
Okay.
Yeah, if you need anything, I think Frank's got my contact information and
Mhm.
so yeah, I was born and raised here. I know a lot about the area.
Okay.
Like I said, I
Yeah,
have
for me.
my real estate license, and I know the lenders and people that can do some contracting and different stuff like that. So
Okay.
St. Charles.
I would like to learn more about the area before I get into investing it.
yeah, sure. Yeah, they always say, like talk to some people, maybe, even a couple other agents and, see where they would invest and stuff. So But
Mm,
yeah, I
mhm.
know the war zones, and I know, the good areas and stuff like that. And the number, like sometimes the really good areas, the numbers don't work very well, but you can kind of find that medium point where it works a little better.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Thank you. Is Mark wanting to invest in St. Louis also in Missouri?
Mark?
No,
Mark.
not me. I'm not allowed there. I'm only allowed in Pittsburgh already. They don't want me anywhere else. I'm not
There's
welcome.
I'm
Yeah.
not used to the house like in 1900.
Well, that's the house Frank used to grow up in.
the first one we bought, the triplex, it's in St. Joseph, and that one was built in 1904. They're really well
Okay.
built, yeah. But a lot of the brick stuff that you come across in St. Louis, you can get duplexes and fourplexes. When I look at those, I like the brick buildings, but I like to look for ones that have already had the plumbing and electrical updated, because
Yeah.
especially the electrical insurance companies don't seem to like knob and tube, and they don't like
Mhm.
aluminum wiring.
Yeah.
And but once in a while you see one that the previous landlord has done a lot of that work, and maybe even a new roof. Those come through once in a while.
How much the rent run in the area for like 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and 3 bedroom, 1 bath?
Where we're at, like our little one, like I said before, it was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and
Uh-huh.
it's getting 1150. And then the 3 bedroom, 1 baths, Alicia was saying, um, there's quite a few of them out there now that at 1300, even though the fair market rents is all the way up to over 1500, but the market isn't supporting that. But even 1300, you were talking about, I saw one for 95,000 also today. It's a 3 bedroom, 1 bath, and if you got it for 95 and you could rent it for 13, that would cash flow.
Yeah.
But when you get over that price, I don't think the cash flow would be as good. If you're paying between 100 to 130.
And this is for your duplex and triplex?
No, this is for our single family in
Single
St.
family.
Louis. It's the one in St. Louis, yeah.
Okay. For duplex and triplex, are they 2 bedroom, 1 bath then?
For our triplex in St. Joseph, which is about 45 minutes from Kansas City, they're 2 bedroom, 1 baths, all of them. The bottom unit is the largest unit, and that one only gets it gets 800 a month, and the upper two units, they're open for rent right now, and they're asking 750 for those 2 units.
Okay.
Yeah. When they're all
And
full, the property will cash flow nicely when they're all full, but we just have to get them filled.
Yeah,
They
the
just
fair market value, that's for Section 8, right? For Section 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. The same thing at Gary too. That fair market value for 3 bedroom, 1 bath is 1,600. I'm thinking, who's gonna pay 1,600 in Gary,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because usually the applicant that I got so far is all women with children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, it's so single mother with children, so they can't pay that much, 1,600.
Yeah, and
And
that's what I was saying. So that's been proven to you as well in that market, right? Because you were saying
mm,
1,400.
yeah,
Yeah.
when we submitted to Section 8 office for rent approval, they only approve for 1,150.
Mm,
And yeah, for 3 bedroom, 1 bath, 1,150, because the mother has a job, has an income like $2,000 income a month. I mean, $2,000 is not that much. It's not
yeah.
much at all, right? And then she has to pay utilities on the top of that. So it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Mhm. So
So we're still waiting one.
yeah. Did you say the tenant that you did get, was that a regular tenant?
Yeah, regular tenant.
Yeah.
Yeah. She has income about 6,700 a month. Yeah. So she's not qualified for Section 8 for
Okay.
that month. Yeah. Yeah. So
I think in St. Louis, probably the 63031 zip code is I see houses there that are going up in value and they still cash flow. So maybe a little bit more expensive than, the 95,000 range, but I would say you can get something in the 120. It depends if it needs a rehab, you could probably pick one up for 110. And yeah, they would probably rent for at least 1,500. Probably no more than 1,700, but if it's a 3 bedroom. A lot of local people go there to invest in that 63031 or 63033.
mhm.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the prices right off the bat are a bit higher than where we're at, so that'll be nice
Yeah, but
to.
it's like I said, you're gonna in that area you see the price appreciation.
Mhm.
It's 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 probably on par with most of even the really nice areas as far as appreciation. They're going up in value there, but yeah, you do pay a little bit more. So, but they keep it nice, like um, I would still call it a C class, neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
You'll still see like air conditioners with the cages around them or something like that occasionally and stuff like that. So there is some crime there, but for the most part, I would feel pretty safe walking around there.
Mhm. Yeah, that's one thing that I've been thinking. I mean, we're happy with all the stuff that we've purchased so far, but uh, that's one of my thoughts is next time trying to go a little bit nicer, nicer area, nicer home. Um, is what I've been thinking.
Yeah, that's kind of been my philosophy. Like, who's the guy on Bigger Pockets podcast that what is it, David Green or whatever?
Uh-huh.
I always remember him saying buy the nicest house in the nicest area that you can, afford to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of goes against what a lot of investors try to buy, the cheapest they can buy. So
Yeah.
but there's got to be something to it. He knows what he's talking about, I think. So
Yeah, he sure has come a long way. I talk about that in our journey getting restarted again in 2019. His interview with David Green was the one that got me rolling again. And back then I don't know if he was still a police officer, but that was the story. He was a police officer trying to buy rentals to get out of that line of work. And now he's not too far from us here. He's about 45 minutes from where I live, but he's grown his everything, all his companies and everything. I think he's got the one brokerage and I don't know if he's delved into property management yet, but everything he does so far has turned to gold.